Not only did she not do that, but she mostly sat under a tree. We have a tree that's our sitting tree. His name is Arthur. That's a long story. But she sat under Arthur for about 4 hours, essentially, without moving much, tears streaming down her face, a big smile on her face. And as she's coming out of her experience, she said with big, bright eyes, "Who am I now without this burden?"
Welcome to the TooCuriousMD podcast. I'm Dr. Ali Ahmed.
And I'm Dr. Soraya Rahman.
In this podcast, we are asking the unasked questions.
We're physicians applying the lens of narrative medicine, exploring integrative practices and psychedelic treatment in healthcare.
Together with our guests, we weave new learnings from stories, expertise, and the sciences. With the wisdom from holistic, alternative, and these conventional medicine, we are here to challenge the status quo.
We're curious about the connectivity and complexity between diverse fields of knowledge as they relate to consciousness, chronic illness, mental health, resilience, and beyond.
Learning more about the art and science of healing, or listening to stories of extraordinary healing. You're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Leah, Linder, and Pam Conboy from Setas Seminary. We're so excited to have you, TooCuriousMDs. We're exploring the intersection of healing and alternative ways of looking at the process of healing and what opens up to us when we start to think about mind, body, and spirit aligning and healing together. And today I'm so excited to have both of you here on the podcast today. So without further ado, I'd like to just start out by asking, how did you decide to do this work together? What had to align to make that happen?
Absolutely. This is a
The
great
universe.
origin story. Yeah, the universe brought us together. So Pam and I have worked together in the past, a professional nutraceutical company here in Reno, Nevada. And we were having lunch one day and I started to tell her this story. So there's been a lot of curiosity. The psychedelic movement has really been going through a renaissance. And one week, about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I had 3 different patients come to me in the same week, totally unrelated, and say, "Hey, what do you think about microdosing psilocybin? I listened to this podcast, I read this article, I saw this book that I started reading, and I'm really curious about it." So I was doing all of the foundational naturopathic things of root cause medicine, and I had all of that going on, but each of them were very successful individuals, very high functioning individuals, and we're looking for a bit of a catalyst to kind of move them forward in their healing and wellness journey, specifically with mental health. And so they came to me all in one week, and I was like, okay, well, I had only really seen or thought about this from a recreational standpoint. And so I said, okay, let's give me a minute. I'm going to go dive into the research and see what's there. And the research is there, right? For treating depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, even conditions such as diabetes and sleep and fibromyalgia and chronic pain. I mean, the list just went on and on and on. And I was like, okay, well, we gotta try it out. See, I mean, as a physician, it is a practice of medicine. So let's see how it goes. And I can honestly say, it makes me tear up. I can honestly say that it was the most profound shift I had seen in all 3 of those patients. And they really, even within a very small time frame and even at microdose, were able to see incredible gains as far as not being, so tied to the alcohol at the end of the night, to calm down, having more focus, having more clarity, having more productivity. And so I was having lunch with Pam one day and was telling her this story. I was like, Pam, we gotta, this is so incredible. And I think we need to put it in the water. This is amazing for people. And so Pam, being the beautiful business person that she is, had this little light bulb and was like, okay, how do we do this? So I'll let her kind of explain the process afterwards.
Thank you. As she was describing it, I'm thinking, wow, this is just incredible. So there has to be a way. There just has to be a way, because I was aware that there was a renaissance and psychedelics for mental health. And I did my own research, and it certainly was there, mostly with macrodose, but there are microdose studies as well. So number one, I had to experience it because I hadn't. So, we went down to Mexico and had a big old journey. And I came away with that for sure. We need to do this. So I was aware of ayahuasca churches in the US and dug into how they were sustaining themselves without being harassed. And it really is the result of the 1993 Religious Freedom Restoration Act that the feds passed. And that was designed to sort of alleviate harassment of indigenous people that use plant medicines for sincere spiritual practice. So I looked into this law and also spoke to a bunch of attorneys, and there are a bunch. There's a bar of psychedelic attorneys, amazingly enough, and really investigated how it was being done, looked at the risks associated with doing it. And there was a pathway for sure. And I felt very comfortable that we could do this safely and within the confines of the law. And the way to do that is through a church or a religious institution. So I built a church. We're a nonprofit religious institution. Our tenets are really completely non-denominational, although if you're using psychedelics and you don't believe there's something beyond your body here today, then you're doing something wrong. Whether you call it God, the universe, or whatever, doesn't matter at all. Whatever gets you there is okay for us. But we do follow the tenets of naturopathic medicine. So root cause medicine, root cause lifestyle shifts. So the psilocybin itself is our sacrament, and we use that word to abide by the strictures of being a church. But there's all the other things associated with the shifts that you can get from psilocybin. So what we do is we hold events twice a month on the new moon and the full moon. One is science and sermon, and that's really more didactic. So potentially we're talking about meditation this month. We will teach about all of the science behind meditation, why meditation is a practice you should consider bringing into your life, how you can do it easily and not have to go to an ashram. And then the second is more of a sensation. So it's an experiential practice, and we'll go through various ways of incorporating meditation in your life, doing a full body scan or a walking meditation or just general mindfulness meditation. So there's a gigantic toolbox of stuff, from sound baths to hot and cold therapy to grounding to you name it. And we try to introduce everyone, so everyone's welcome to these free events, to these practices that can really help improve your life, aided by our sacrament, which we offer in both microdose and macrodose only in ceremony. So those macrodoses, anything that gives you a psychedelic effect, is done under facilitation here at the church, which is my home outside of Reno, with Leah and I, who are trained facilitators. And we've only been in business since late spring, early summer, and we have a pretty good, strong following, and we are doing more just to help, like you are, educate people that there is a way to access these medicines safely at very high quality, because as Leah mentioned, we worked in the nutraceutical business together. We know where to source things, where to get them tested. We actually have all of these produced under GMP, good manufacturing practices, which is the highest FDA standard. So these are very safe. We know exactly what's in it. We know how to guide people, how to use them. So it's an option. It's a really safe option to explore these medicines.
Yeah, and just to tandem off of that, because my biggest concern, especially as being a physician, is where are they getting these? Because everybody was coming to me with their little baggies that, who knows where they were coming from, what strains they were, what was in them. Did they have heavy metals? Did they have mycotoxins? They're really wanting to provide safe medicine for people. And so Pam and I, coming from that industry of knowing how rigorous testing needs to be and good manufacturing practices, and having that safety net around what medicine we're offering was so absolutely important to us versus the, I got it from some guy's basement, kind of a thing. So that was very important for us to make sure that it was safe and high quality and organic and
Yeah.
totally tested.
Oh my gosh. As I'm taking this in, I'm just getting this understanding that you're holding both things. You're making connections, which is such a mycelial kind of way of looking at things, right? Oh, we've got the I kind of wrote it down here. You're balancing the two sides of not just symptom relief, that yes, you're coming so that you can, improve your life, quit your bad habits, but oh, and this is a sacrament. And we also want to hold space for the fact that the human being has this expansive aspect to ourselves, right? I love how you mentioned that meditation, when we talk about the science that we're of meditation and when we look at brains that are in the psychedelic journey and also brains of people who are meditating, there's just so much overlap there that we know we're on that same kind of scale, right? It's how
Yeah.
loud it goes. And with psychedelics, you're just really turning it up to 11 when you're like macro dosing, right?
It's a
Mhm. Mhm.
shortcut. You can
It's a
achieve the
short.
exact same thing with the other tools. This just gets you there faster.
And we like to
Yeah.
say that the journey is just the beginning. We can't negate the fact that we are a whole body system and the whole system needs to have attention to it, and so you can have these macro dosing journeys and really go to places, but if you don't have those foundational things of sleep and nutrition and even community, right, to like hold you in that space, then lasting meaningful change doesn't happen. And so we do, have this sincere aspect of why we started a church is that
Mhm.
we have that community, we have those tools, you continue to learn and grow, with the facilitation of the medicine to
Yeah,
create that meaningful lasting change.
So
love
integration
that.
never stops.
Right.
There are folks can offer an integration session maybe after a macro journey, but for us, we believe integration is now should be part of your life. And whether meditation is that's your tool that works effectively or running, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. You just need to know what's available to you and be able to access these things in an environment where people aren't judging you because you're exploring plant medicines, which still
Yeah.
happens.
Oh my gosh. And thank you for naming that. The stigma is huge.
Mhm.
The stigma is huge. And that's kind of the issue here, right? Is if you're doing a psychedelic medicine and you're not in community, how damaging that can be, how absolutely devastating to feel that isolation again, right? People are doing this medicine to feel it because we're feeling disconnected from our bodies, from the world, and from joy. And here we are, we're in this beautiful connecting medicine, and we see it all and we feel it all. And then to be left out of community after that
Mhm.
is just it just feels like a doubling down of isolation. And so the model that you've chosen works so well because you have this constant community that's going on the lunar cycle, which just gets everybody on to just living our lives in a different way, in a more intentional way, a more connected way. So I'm just really understanding, the kind of roots of where you're going to is like with a lot of respect to the sacrament itself, the earth, and the traditions that have usually been needed to occur right around these medicines. I mean, we weren't supposed to be doing these medicines in isolation.
No. Well,
Um,
I don't think we're meant to
no.
live in isolation, Like, I think that that is such a crisis that we're going through. I mean, with the internet and social media, I mean, we're more quote unquote connected than we ever have been. And we have access to all of this information. But I think so much of what so many people are lacking is that sense of community, that sense of accountability, that sense of support, especially when we're addressing our mental health concerns, because that again is another side of the taboo. You can see somebody that has a broken arm and, that's a physical thing that you can give compassion to. But so often people don't talk about, I'm really struggling with my anxiety or my depression, or I've never really faced this issue before. And it just sits in the background of my soul and eats away at me, you know? So having that ability to say, I'm not perfect. I need some help. Like I need some support is such a profound thing. And so again, having that container, that safe container, I think is really ineffably valuable.
And it is really palpable because we have events here and elsewhere, and there are no pretenses at all. Everybody is on a similar journey, although it may be separate. We're all there to explore what, nature, God, the universe gave us, right? And to sort through our baggage and put the bags down. So the energy around these events is just spectacular and soul-filling, honestly. And you speak about having stigma. We found, and thankfully for us and everybody else involved, is that there is more research available and more evidence that these are safe. In fact, psilocybin is the safest. By far, the safety profile is extraordinary for psilocybin. But we have physicians here in the Reno area that regularly refer people to us. We have a leading neurologist here that sends probably 3 patients a month that are early onset Alzheimer's. And the microdose pairings that we can offer do help a bit with memory, but what it gives them more confidence and elevates their mood, and the house is a happier place. And these people stick with this very low dose supported by other botanicals, and maybe we can talk about that next, the 3 pairings that we offer. But this is a safe place to go, and some of these folks don't have much in the way of other therapeutic options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that just a tandem off of that too, even if they don't have option to other therapeutic access, even beyond early Alzheimer's and dementia, the healthcare landscape is absolutely changing as well. People want more control, want more autonomy, and recognize that their medications aren't addressing their system. It's addressing the symptoms, but it's not getting what is actually going on in them. And I think that with this bountiful knowledge that we have access to, through the internet and books and whatnot, and podcasts like yours, that, people are really seeking that like deeper meaning of like, I don't want to just take a pill for the rest of my life. I want to be well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we absolutely, everything that you're sharing today is making me think back to the suffering I've seen within the healthcare community itself, medical students of other healing modalities who are going through this really rough training. And that training hasn't changed, and not only that, it's actually become folded into this giant kind of financial, the economics of healthcare. Let's just put it under that, basket. Is the economics of healthcare make it such that you can't pay attention to the things that really matter, that you're forced to pay attention to only the symptoms, and you're told that, oh, this is how you fix this. And there's such a deep, and I want to just name this, there's just a deep sense of loss and grief that a lot of my trainees feel, because they get to the end of this really, kind of difficult road of their training. And by the 2nd and 3rd year of their residency, they're looking back going, what? This is it. This is what I get to do. And they start to feel that despair.
Yeah.
Because as we know, healing is this bi-directional journey. It has to flow between 2 people. It's an interpersonal experience. And I love how the way that you're doing this medicine is like, let's talk about the whole person. Let's talk about them in their context. Let's look at nutrition. Let's look at exercise. Let's look at meaning. Let's look at community, right? And let's also leave space for everybody being on the healing journey. I love how you said that. It's just everybody. It's real talk. And so we break down those barriers of, that we've kind of built for ourselves, where we say, oh, I'm sick and you're not sick and you're well, and so there's nothing wrong with you. And how trainees kind of get trapped in that dichotomy, because as trainees and as physicians and as healers, doctors in a professional certified, licensed individual, we're not allowed to say that we're suffering. Not only are we not allowed to say we're suffering, we're actually going to then suffer the consequences of being in jeopardy, and of maybe jeopardizing our training, what kind of jobs we can get and everything. So there's just this amazing amount of stigma and isolation that a lot of trainees are holding as they graduate. And when we're kind of looking at this kind of medicine, I feel like the first person that heals is yourself. Like when you step into this kind of healing space, right? When you recognize that this is possible, and then you're like, oh, I want to take this to other people. But first, the lesson is always
Healer, heal thyself.
To say, heal thyself, healer, heal thyself, right? Because only in healing ourselves do we kind of recognize what others are also suffering through, right? Because all of our wounds are the same. Really at the root cause. We're all carrying similar, kind of root causes, because we're all embedded in this same society, dealing with the same issues and the environmental toxins and the trauma and everything like that. What I would like to kind of go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I can add, I totally agree with you, is that I think that everybody goes into the medical field with great intentions for supporting others. And I think that so much of the system of education and training for these beautiful individuals that have such great intention is negating your own self, right? You got to suck it up and take 30 credits and, be in these long residency hours and really negate your own need for self-care, because it isn't encouraged, right? It isn't trained on, it isn't encouraged. Kind of quite the opposite is that the people that are quote unquote successful can leave their stuff at the door, when so often what it is to be a healer is to say, I witness you because me too. Right? That empathy and that sympathy of like, I see you because I see me also. And giving yourself permission to participate in that, I think, is so valuable. One of my very dear patients and friends is an ER doctor. And I have an ER doctor and an ER nurse. And they were some of the first ones to hop on this psychedelic bandwagon because they were coming home at the end of the day, and to decompress, it was the 2 bottles of wine. It was, whatever their creature comforts were to numb them out, right? They were going towards those things and they didn't want to do that. They wanted to like really be aware of what was going on with them and to help address that. And so it's so often the healthcare providers do not get the healthcare themselves. And so this is beautiful, beautiful medicine for healthcare providers as well.
Absolutely. It really brings back the reason why makes us get connected back with the reason why we chose to sacrifice. And chose the path we did. And I love how you use the word negating. There's this interesting, just a kind of exercise I do that comes from The Healer's Art by Rachel Naomi Remen. I don't know if you know her, Kitchen Table Wisdom. And it's just a drawing exercise where we say, okay, what are the parts of yourself that can't be here in medicine? When we ask a first-year medical student, what are the parts of yourself that you feel can't arrive here, right? And how disintegrating that is. When we enter medicine, we think we have to be these professionals and we have to kind of like, close off parts of ourselves. We're literally negating ourselves. And as we know, coming back into talking about this kind of medicine, it's such an integrative process. Every part of you matters. The dancer in you matters. The comedian in you matters. The one that, just has the kindest heart for animals, that person matters, and how that creates the healer. And what a disservice we've done by telling young people that no, you've got to abandon yourself to be a healer, right? It just really gets at that like crux of it. And I love how psychedelic medicine is such a holistic, expansive space in which we can bring our ancestral lineages. We can bring the stories of migration. We can bring the strength of the matriarchal, right? And all of these different roles that we play, that we can bring in mythopoetic language and storytelling. I mean, it's just all here as a human experience. And I just love the reclaiming of healing as a human experience that you both are doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because beyond, I like to say that we are more than just the healer, right? We are a sister, we are a friend, we are, a being on the planet, but we also, go back to our like roots of the leg bones connected to the like everybody knows that song, right? And it acknowledges that like we're not just our cardiovascular system, we're not just our, central nervous system. We are all connected, right? Not only in
Yeah,
our bodies, but also to each other, to the planet,
yeah.
to our stories, to our lineage. I agree.
I
We
love
had,
how you.
along
Mhm.
those, I'm sorry, I just
Okay.
wanted to tell you a story that
Yes,
popped in my
please.
head based on what you were describing about our other selves. We had a child psychiatrist, a newly minted child psychiatrist, join
Mm.
us for group ceremony a few months ago now. And one of his big takeaways, very buttoned up individual, very serious, very somber. He came under the goal to understand what this medicine is because it's becoming more available and more well researched. He left with the concept that why don't I play? How come I don't play anymore?
Mm.
He was a different human being when I drove him home, and his partner, also a physician, is going to join us on Saturday for ceremony. These medicines can really crack into the things that you're not wanting to look at, but
Yeah.
that are, playing a huge role in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. That understanding that the more we suppress, the more those things become active, but in a subconscious way. And how can we make the unknown known and
Mm.
do it in a safe way? Because that's what we're afraid of, is there's just no safety anywhere to be able to unpack your fears, your all of those things that we guard. And here is an opportunity, a completely different paradigm to just kind of like open it up and not fear that you're going to be rejected,
Mhm.
and to recognize that somebody else is going to not just not reject you, but accept and reflect back. And you're going to feel what all human beings are designed to feel, which is that sense of enclosure, that
Mhm.
sense of I'm held in a web of meaning. And that
Absolutely.
feeling just, right? Like that feeling just
Mhm.
unearths play, creativity, joy, like stuff begins to flow when we get out of our own way. And I just love how this practice too, I never thought of this. You're getting referrals from all parts of the healthcare system, neurologists, cardiologists. You're getting different levels of people here. So I'm just fascinated as to how deep you go with them, what gets unearthed. I know as a psychedelic practitioner that the person I see, like Pam, you just mentioned, the person you see at the first contact is going to be different
Always.
in
Always.
ways you could not have. And
Mhm.
it's always right. You're just sitting there from like having a memory of that exact moment, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month or 2 months ago, going, this is a different person.
Mhm.
It's startling. It's striking. This is one of my favorite stories because it makes me practically cry every time I tell it. But we had a woman that came for an individual ceremony. So those are higher dose. We do the same prep and follow up and such. But for people who really want an individual experience, this is 5+ grams. So it's a pretty significant journey. She had a very long history of sexual abuse throughout her childhood into adulthood. and effectively wore a wonderful mask of being the supporter, the people pleaser, the comedian, and she was just ready. She was using alcohol to sort of cover a lot of the things that she did not want to look at. She came to church frightened. Most people come in a little uneasy, and if they didn't, I think would be a little concerned that how come you're not concerned? Because, it's a wholly unknown territory. What's going to happen? She was concerned that she'd fall apart, a million little pieces. Not only did she not do that, but she mostly sat under a tree. We have a tree that's our sitting tree. His name is Arthur. That's a long story. But she sat under Arthur for about 4 hours, essentially, without moving much, tears streaming down her face, a big smile on her face. And as she's coming out of her experience, she said with big, bright eyes, "Who am I now without this burden? Welcome home." So, and she's been doing integrated practice.
It makes me
right? No, that's how it is. It's breathtaking. And it's durable.
Well, and
durable.
it is durable. And that's why I really do believe that this is root cause medicine, because unlike pharmaceuticals, the more you use them, the less you need to achieve the same benefit. So it really is healing people in very sustainable long-term ways.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you just, oh my gosh, to see your burden as separate from yourself, to see that you're not your burden, that there is space there. And then so when people even confront that idea for the first time, to recognize that that's even possible. And not only is it possible, you can grow that space, and then you can let that burden go. I mean, as a pediatrician, I've worked in trauma centers. I have, since my early training, recognized that there's so much abuse and trauma that goes not just unseen, but unlabeled. And a lot of high functioning adults, as you described, are suppressing symptoms. Symptoms like depression and anxiety are coming up because there's just this unspoken, unlabeled, because when they're children and it happened, there was no word for it. There was no recognition that this is wrong. In some people's minds, they were, they're still the person that invited that, the child that invited that. Although, and so that kind of fracture remains. And when we can heal that fracture, when we can let that go, when we can bring those parts of ourselves together, I mean, this is just like a new lease on life. You're talking about a new lease on life.
It really truly is. I like to, pardon my language, but when I describe this to people, it's like you're stuck in this river of shit. Your feet, you're up to your knees, you can't move, it's above your eyes, you can't see, can't smell, it's all over. The mushrooms help take you out of the river and put you on the bank. You can still see the river, you can still see all the garbage in it, but it doesn't own you anymore. You can put the bags down and start working on your healing. And it's just amazing to watch.
Yeah. So with that, tell me about how you lead a person through this. How do you, prepare? What are some of the, and I know you mentioned there were the 3 pairings of the sacrament. And so if you would like to just kind of, give us kind of a 30,000-foot overview of what people can expect and how you frame this kind of healing. What are some of the ideas that are connecting with people, right? As they start to recognize that there is something here of value.
So we have the 2 options. So people come to us either because they're interested in microdosing. So those people are usually either a little timid, want to see if this medicine is safe and tolerable, etc., or they feel like they just need some fine tuning. And we have the 3, I'm going to do some show and tell while Leah talks about the 3 pairings. But then we do the larger ceremonies. So we do small group up to 6 people. So there's always a 3-to-1 ratio. And that dosage is 2 to 3 grams of whole mushroom served in a tea. So this is a good psychedelic experience, but you're not off in a different universe. Then we do individuals where it's the two of us and just the individual. And that starts at 5 grams. And those are usually for people who are very, very stuck and need a big kind of breakthrough. So I'm going to grab some show and tell and let Leah dive.
But to speak a little bit about the experience of when people do a mini dose or a macro dose, we have a full process where I do a medical intake on all of these individuals and make sure that I go through their medications and their supplements and also get into like, well, why are you wanting to do this? And what traumas have you experienced that have the potential to come up? And so that I have a greater understanding of where they're coming from, because Pam and I are aligned in this, that we don't believe that there's any bad trips. There's difficult experiences, but it is all about set and setting. And so a huge part of that is understanding where they're coming at or where they're coming from, what they're coming with, so that we have a better understanding of how to support them when they are on journey. So we do the medical intake, we do an integration before they actually go on journey. We have a wonderful journey experience where we gather everybody up and go up to church, and we do breath work, we do body movement, we do mindfulness even before we get into journey. So people are in that really good space. And then, like Pam said, we serve sacrament in the form of a tea. So then once everybody has their tea, it takes about 15 or 20 minutes for the effects to start coming on board. And that's when everybody disperses a little bit more. We have lots of cozy nooks and comforting spaces and warm blankets. And there's a hot tub if you want to sit in the hot tub in the summertime. There's a pool. We have swing sets wherever you want to be. And then we support you in that journey space. And then everybody comes back together after they start coming down. We have a really wonderful meal. Anyways, I transport everybody back to their homes or have people come and pick them up. And then we do integration the week after, and then we do ongoing integration through the church as well. So we'll do individual integration after that journey. And then we also have integration circles where they can come and talk about how that is participating. So that's more of our mini and macro dosing experiences. But for those that are wanting to participate in microdosing, I formulated 3 pairings. One is called the calm pairing. So this is peace and harmony. You can see if Pam's doing show and tell. So this is to help open up cognitive pathways, specifically for people that tend towards more anxiety. So we have both the psilocybin part of it, which is in the green bottles. And then we also have a supplement version that is also taken as well. So the supplement version is taken every single day. This is to help with the integration. So it has supportive herbs and nutrients in it to help the psilocybin basically work better for these individuals and be more sustainable. So in the calm pairing, we have our proprietary psilocybin blend. It also has reishi and lion's mane in it. So reishi is one of the most profound functional mushrooms that is really good for supporting immune system function, but really calming down that nervous system. And then lion's mane is really good at helping decrease neuroinflammation as well as supporting new neural cognitive pathways. And then the supplement version, the harmony pairing, this has reishi and lion's mane in it as well to carry that through. And then it also has ashwagandha, which is a calming adaptogen. It has L-theanine, which is an amazing amino acid that's super good for help putting the brakes on the acetylcholine receptors. And then it also has tilia, or linden tree, which is one of my favorite calming nerve vines. So really, really good for calming that nervous system. This is for the anxious brain, the ruminative brain, like won't shut down, the go, 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 which we very often experience in healthcare providers as well. So this is a really great one for supporting them. The next pairing that we have is called introspection. Now, introspection is all about helping heal that trauma wound. So this is very much for people that have a long history of trauma or traumatic events that have happened in their life, which medical school is one of them. This is really great because it is both stimulating and calming at the same time. So it helps stir things up, but then give you that soothing hug so that you can deal with it, you can manage it and see it in a beautiful way and not be overwhelmed by it. So the psilocybin blend, again, has our proprietary blend in it, but it also has chaga, which is another functional mushroom, which is the eternal life mushroom based on traditional Chinese medicine. So great for vitality, great for boosting the immune system function, great for calming neuroinflammation, but gives you a little bit more stimulating effect. And then it also has cordyceps in it. Cordyceps is another type of functional mushroom that is all about endurance and strength and fortitude and energy. So that's the psilocybin blend. And then the, the supplement blend has holy basil in it, or tulsi, which is so good for helping people move through transitional times in their lives. It also has gotu kola, which not only is great for helping heal cellular tissue and healing wounds, but from a physical aspect, but it also has that from an energetic perspective of healing emotional wounds. And then it also has motherwort in it. And motherwort, the Latin name is Leonardus cardiaca. So it is the lion heart. So you can basically think about having that vitality, that vigor, but also being held by your mother. So that calm, safe place to be able to go through that as well. And then we have another pairing. Yeah, our focus pairing is great. So this is formulated for kind of two different types of people: those that are stuck on the couch with their depression, but also those that have, are neurodivergent. So there's a lot of us out here, 1 in 4. I'm one of them. So this is a really great pairing to help bring in focus into individuals, help them, give them some more energy as well. So the psilocybin part of it also has lion's mane and niacin. So it has lion's mane to help with those new neural pathways, but it also has niacin, which is a vasodilator. So it helps get blood flow to those little teeny neurons in our brain as well. And then the supplement version of it has chaga, has cordyceps, has rhodiola, and ginger. So all of these are going to be very warming, very stimulating, both adaptogens and nervines in there as well. So it helps really warm the system. If you're stuck in a rut, it gives you the energy that you need to move throughout the day. This is especially important for people that go to that second, third, fourth cup of coffee. Also, the people that don't have the energy to get out of bed. This can be a really, really valuable thing for just giving them a booster smooch to get going during the day, and then also help heal those emotional wounds.
So maybe, Leah, you could also go, because the supplement we take every day, and the psilocybin is taking on a pulsing schedule similar to protocols that are published out there, like the Fadiman and Paul Stamets. But Leah created one that was working well for her patients, which is the one we recommend.
Yeah, so the protocol, again, the Stamets stack is very well known. There's lots of different protocols for microdosing out there, but the one that I created, I found really valuable because it kind of gets people going. So we do a 1, 2, 3. I created a 1, 2, 3 protocol. So it's 1 day on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off. And then you get a whole nother week of a washout. So it's 10 days off of the protocol. So basically you get a little boost, and then you have the ability to let your nervous system reset. And then you get more of a boost. And then again, we settle and we focus again. And then we get a really big boost. And then we take 10 days off to let that integration of our neural patterns actually settle in, versus just staying going on it, because that can be a little bit too disruptive for people, because there isn't like how do I incorporate? How do I make this sustainable change? And we want it to be something that is comfortable, but also kind of pushes you in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that because it's really making me recognize that you've really thought about it. You
Mhm.
really just considered it from the patient perspective. What is the patient actually going through? Are they needing a boost to get off the couch every day? And here's something that they can take. Or are they needing to just feel more balanced and focused and uncluttered in the mind? And just this way of really mixing and matching. I love this. Just the way you went through all of them. It all just made sense to me as as I've read some of these things too. And I honestly can't wait to try my own. So
Yay!
I think I'm gonna be ordering some from you. You know, because this is fantastic. This is it. This is and just the care even to recognize, like you said, that we give the boost, but then we rest. We give the boost, but then we rest. There's a pulsing quality to healing.
Mhm.
And it's really, really recognizing that the human being is always pulsing, right? Like our hearts are pulsing, our breath is pulsing, the earth is pulsing,
Mhm.
and that everything in nature, even a flower that's opening is opening and then closing a little, opening and closing a little.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm reminded that this is about developing a relationship with whatever you're putting in your body and how sacred that is, and how just the act of doing that brings us into focus with what I put into my body matters,
Mhm.
right? Because so much of what we do with our bodies is just like kind of automated. It's like, oh, there's this that I see for this, and it looks like it might do something good for my body, but we know it doesn't. And all those mismatched signals that we swim in every day, right? And here is this ability to kind of, oh no, you're putting things in your body that are calming, that are focusing, that are connecting, that are going to be working together, and recognizing that the work, right, kind of happens at that edge of where those neurons are, what's happening at that kind of molecular level. And things are shifting and changing, and you can feel it.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely. Well, and I think that the body knows how to be well. We just need to find the right tools to help them
yeah.
be whole and well. And this, again, is the most profound and beautiful medicine I have ever participated in. That's so thank you also for what you're doing because this is the profound shift that we why we became healers, is to actually heal people or help them heal
Oh,
themselves, right? We don't heal anybody, but we can teach them how to heal themselves.
how beautiful that is. How beautiful. Because absolutely, like, and Pam, you also mentioned it's like we get to discover this body that we have already knows, already has a set of instructions, a set of tools, a set of just connections to everything. And there's like this deep knowledge. And as we dive deeper and deeper inward, I think people recognize over and over again that, oh, this is the part that matters. If this is okay, the rest of everything will figure itself out, and I'll actually be able to arrive in this world in a way better able to deal with what the world has done to me. And it really, like, you're taking the narrative and you're turning it over on its head. You're
Mhm.
not saying to the person, oh, you're broken and we're going to fix you. You've said, you know how to heal and you're suffering,
Mhm.
and we're here to hold you. Like
Mhm.
there's radical shift and what that means. And we've seen those transformations. And I'm so thankful to the two of you for doing what you do and really bringing this care to this entire spectrum, not just the medical, but making sure that there is a community, that there is a sacramental kind of sacred relationship with the mushroom, and even, I think, respecting how our ancestors have carried the mushroom medicine. Not our particular ancestors, but human ancestors.
Mhm.
Right? As we know, this kind of healing has been discovered, rediscovered, held in so many different communities and cultures, that we can really say that this is a universal element in healing. And it's just, to hold this here in this space, in this time, as the psychedelic renaissance is ongoing, is to really be in the vanguard, is really to be in a strong place of saying, no, this is what healing is, and this is, we can demonstrate it, we believe in it, and here are the people to show you that this is real.
And we maybe light the path, but we aren't the path. So, and we don't do everything. So we have a community of practitioners. So yoga instructors and sound healers and energy healers and psychedelic assisted therapy therapists. So where people need additional support, we can confidently recommend people that understand what we're doing, that understand what the people are going through, which it just expands their community and their support network.
I'd like to end with one last question, and really a curiosity is, I hope you're recording your outcomes. I hope you are gathering the stories, just the data that's coming out of your practice in some way, because I'm surprised at how many people will have hypertension, before they go into this medicine, right? And 6 weeks later, the hypertension's gone. And they no longer have this quote unquote diagnosis, right? So it's like we are literally, changing people's bodies. And so I hope we're looking at that.
We did just publish a short case study with naturopathic doctor, News and Review, and we'll be doing a summit with them as well. A lot of it has to do with our individual cases. So there definitely is more interest, and we are very open to sharing as much as we can, because why wouldn't you? Here is a really safe approach to a lot of different ailments that plague us as humanity. People need to know about it and need to know how it can help.
Absolutely. And again, this is addressing the system, not the symptoms, even though the symptoms, to get healed from themselves too. But yeah, we document it. You can see also on our website that we have a long host of testimonials that have come through, that people are willing and offering to let us publish them. And it's the most profound medicine that I have ever participated in. So yes, we are documenting them.
One last thing before we close, just for clarification. So because we operate under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, all of our information is free to anybody at all. But if one would want to participate in sacrament at any level, you must become a member of our church. That is the protection mechanism. So we operate in the sincere practice, and you as a member can then claim that you do the same, and it offers you protection as well. It costs nothing at all. It's just a protection step. So anyone's welcome to join the church. There are no requirements. There is no cost whatsoever. And the RFRA protection is a federal law. So anyone in the United States can be protected by this.
So you can come to our website, which is setasseminary.org, SETAS, seminary, SEMINARY.org. And there is a button right at the top that says Become a Member.
30 seconds.
It's an online form. You just fill it out, and then you have federal protection.
Wonderful. Well, thank you to both of you for taking the time today to share, to just let us know that there's so much hope, that this is possible, that healing of this kind can be done, and can be done beautifully with open hearts and open minds, and really recognizing that we're holding so much hope and promise and of healing, that I'm just in total gratitude for today's exploration and my cup is full. So thank you so much. I hope
Thank
our
you so
listeners.
much for having us. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everything you shared today. I hope our listeners will enjoy and look you up and get on the healing path. So thank you.
Love that.
Thanks for joining us on the Too Curious MD podcast. We hope today's episode inspired you to ask new questions and explore fresh perspectives. We challenge you to ask us those unasked questions that you're curious about in your medical practice, condition, health, and wellness.
If you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, share it with somebody just as curious, and leave us a review. It helps us keep the curiosity alive. Post or comment with a question or curious inquiry that you have and seek to explore or learn with us. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.